everyone. I would like to especially place my compliments and thanks to Safa for organizing this series and, of course, my association with the society. So this afternoon for me, of course, I'm going to talk to you about uh, macroalgae cultivation on wastewaters for energy and environmental sustainability. Primarily, the focus has been of my research work since last several years on energy and environmental sustainability. So in this talk, what I'm going to share with you is primarily take a minute to talk about my research institutes, and then as a background of this work, what I'm going to talk to you, that environmental challenges, primarily energy environmental sustainability is the major issue on the backdrop of sustainability developmental goals, and also the uh, Paris Convention, which has been signed now as a legal document by 203 countries, where national governments have given a clear commitment and reduction in greenhouse gases emission, primarily to contain the rise in temperature and subsequently rise in ocean level. So we all know all that. So thereafter, I'll that environmental challenges, how this could be the what are the commitments given by the national governments, and then how the biofuels are being seen as the important tool in order to fulfill those commitments. And among the biofuel, I'll focus on algal biofuels and primarily talk about mixotrophic growth of algal growth and conclude my presentation. So this is the CSIR map of India. CSIR is the prime research and in the scientific and industrial research organization in India, which has 38 laboratories, different parts of the country. So almost 30 years, I have been working in the southwest part of the country. The institute is called National Institute for Interdisciplinary Science and Technology, and the city is called Tiruvananthapuram. It is, I could see, on the of the tip of the country. And then since last almost 4 years, I have moved to northern part, 600 southwest of Delhi. The city is called Lucknow, and the institute is Center Indian Institute of Toxicology Research, in which we have established a separate, a new entity is called Center for Innovation and Translational Research. And this is where the center I'm mentoring. The center is essentially focusing on development of processes for industrial applications. So it does not take basic R&D, but then it works in tandem with different industries. We have several modules to work with industries, hiring space or facilities, or taking joint R&D for translational research, where the some interventions, process interventions, or product purification, isolation could lead to commercialization or at least demo of the process for further large scale processes. So now moving to this present talk, what I'm going to share with you is that is environmental challenges. We know that increase of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere is very, very severe and has very serious consequences, including the very survival of a large number of countries if there is a rise in temperature and if subsequently rise uh, in ocean level. Now we know that the greenhouse gases, primarily carbon dioxide, is the one responsible for such a emission. And if you look at this emission, carbon dioxide global emission in 2013, 36 gigaton, while in 2020 it increased to 25 gigaton. 25% increase has been there, 20% increase in just last 5 years. And if you look at that, what is how it is happening, what are the different countries, so we all can see that there is a huge increase and major share which is coming from China. Of the 45 gigaton, 12.7 gigaton comes alone from China. And thereafter, USA, which is a 5.2 gigaton. And then, of course, the third major contributor is European Union, together 28 countries, followed by India, which is approximately 3.4 gigaton. Now, this is a very serious and it is not sustainable at all. We all know those who participate into climate change and other kind of issues and environmental sustainability, etc. And this is, if you look at what will happen, that temperature will rise, extreme conditions would be there. And one depiction is shown about the disappearing glaciers. In fact, if you look at disappearance of glaciers and the melting of ice, there has been almost 190% increase in last 1 year. So this is also, of course, a serious concern and it is not sustainable. So on this background, what is very clear that we need to address the challenges of environmental sustainability, which is directly linked with the energy sustainability. So in this backdrop, we come into context of biofuels because it is globally recognized that biofuels, in fact, most of the countries have adopted biofuel primarily to fulfill their commitment given for reduction of greenhouse gas emission, in particular carbon dioxide by 2030 or 2030 to 2033 in different phases. And from that perspective, biofuels have been considered one of the very vital tools in order to gain such commitments. And also, it is just not the context of meeting the commitment, but primarily to reduce carbon dioxide in the atmosphere so as to control the increasing temperature. So these are the classical, different classification about different first, second, third, fourth generation. Not very rigidly to be followed, but this is how it has been hypothesized about 15 years or 20 years before. So a quick look at a global biofuel market, what it is there in 2017-18 and how it would be in 2026, because whatever could be there as a developmental agenda, what could be their national policy, what could be their any kind of thing, international commitment, etc. Unless there is a business opportunity, unless it's a case of business, it will be very difficult to sustain because we know that the world order is very different and commercialization and sustainability are linked together. What you call is the market-based economy. So biofuels, the inner circle of the left side, you see, the major share is in the North American countries, followed by the APAC, that is Asian countries, and Europe, and rest of world is small. But then the trend, even for 10 years down line, would largely remain the same, although US share is likely to increase more, followed by uh, Europe share. And then if you look at the right side, primarily, when I say the business, it is important that the industrial partners are taken into account and their policies, their point of view is taken for R&D, then only the commercialization will take place. So these are the four major companies which have been quite active in biofuel research in the last 2 decades, and these are the ones which have commercialized large number of products, whether it is a bioethanol or in particular advanced biofuels. And uh, the trend continues that these are the major companies which dominate the market and are likely to dominate the market for the next 10 years or so. Then if you look at left side figure, that market by type, that which kind of second or third generation biofuels are there. And on the right side, that by different feedstock. So lignocellulosic biomass is was considered as one of the very important, in particular tropical countries. And then syngas fermentation or biomass-based energy, municipal solid-based energy using incineration is also important. And algae has been predicted still to continue an important aspect, even if because of techno-economic reason, in particular economic reason, it is not having it same interest by most of the key players, but prediction is there that it would be perhaps one of the key uh, biofuel for some part of the world. It may not be sustainable in some countries, but in some countries it could be feasible. So when we say that algae possibilities are there, that then we need to look what are the important consideration we need to look about algal biofuel. And from that point of view, while the initially focus has been on cultivation of algae in fresh water, and then it's moved to marine water, but then the current focus is on wastewater based uh, cultivation and focusing on different modes: autotrophic, mixotrophic, and heterotrophic. And this carbon capture and utilization has been one of the key aspects when you talk of algal cultivation. So among the three different kind of cultivation, while mixotrophic cultivation is very important, it is not considered very environmental friendly. But then what is there that it is quite economic process. So these, if you look at overall production process of algal biofuel, we have algal culture, we have harvesting. There are still a lot of limitation on harvesting. Then we have dewatering. Algal biomass is there. It could, depending upon its fatty acid profile, the cells, of course, are disrupted, and depending on fatty acid profile, it is to be used for multiple applications. So now it is the emphasis is on utilization of entire all the part of cell, working on the principle of biorefinery, so that the environmental sustainability could also be attained along with other process development, ultimately which will be much more economically attractive. Some informations are there that on market share, etc. I'll skip this slide. And economics. So current situation is like that, that if you look at sustainable commercial production, largely depends on biomass and lipid yield. We know that, so the idea is that not only to increase the biomass yield, but also its lipid content is very important. So can we reach a theoretical lipid yields in microalgae? This is a billion-dollar questions being addressed since last almost 4 or 5 decades, but still we have not reached to theoretical lipid yield, which is maximum possible. So the one of the major focus continues how to minimize this gap and how to attain theoretical possible yield. So here, this is very interesting paper. Some of you, those who work in this area must have read this Chisti's, Yusuf Chisti from New Zealand. This is paper of 2007. And what is very interesting that even in 2020, the paper has still the same value and the same relevance what it was there. So Chisti has given, and colleagues have given this economic calculation that on biodiesel production from macroalgae, which currently has been shelved out because of economic reason only. But if you look at having the presumption of biomass productivity at 1.5 gram per liter per day, the production cost would be approximately 2.95 kilogram dollar per kilogram. And then if we are able to scale up, assuming the almost similar efficiency, then the production cost of biomass will be approximately $0.47. Now, if this biomass contains 30% of oil by weight, which we know is today we know is even more possible to attain, then the production cost of oil will be approximately $2.8 per liter. And from this, the competitive, the biodiesel which will be generated will be approximately 0.86 dollar per liter. Now, that time, the cost of petrol diesel was 0.6 to 0.79 dollar per liter. Now we know that the prices have since increased quite, and uh, already considering this level, this biodiesel is economically competitive. But then what we need to attain is the scale up, and then the oil content, and thereafter efficient conversion where we attain
خد الباب معاك بس عشان
Sorry, anything to me?
It's okay, Professor. Carry on.
Yeah,
I think
sorry.
he's just joined
So
in.
now I'll quickly move on to this different modes of presentation, and particularly mixotrophic algal biofuel. The concept of mixotrophy, etc., is very simple. That in which autotrophic growth and heterotrophic growth both are put into together, and it theoretically it is very interesting in order to increase the biomass and also to use a large number of substrate, not only limited to pure carbon sources, but also even onto other kind of substrate. And much more focus has been on utilization of biodiesel industry generated glycerol with treatment or without treatment. So some comparisons are given there about different modes of cultivation. And as you can say that light availability, since it is not obligatory, it is considered as one of the very important way to cultivate algae for multiple applications. So many other benefits are there, that higher growth rate and all that. I will not go into detail of this all, but then what are the challenges we still need to address in mixotrophic growth is the carbon source cost. It's very high. But then now, since you are looking at the opportunity to utilize carbon dioxide, for example, generated from thermal power plant and other such sources, this perhaps could be interesting to continue working on to that one. Then since it grows faster and this, it is possible to implement different kind of bioreactor. But then ultimately downstream processing and cost and product transformation cost are still considered very high. And this is where one of the major challenges lies. Contamination, of course, is one issue that which is very, very difficult, in particular for protozoa, and also is contamination. And in particular, when we talk of open pond cultivation, we know that it has largely failed anywhere in the world in under any climatic condition, because after a few weeks or a few months, it is practically impossible to control those protozoan contamination. So mixotrophic liquid production, that we have been working, we have been propagating a two-stage process. In the first stage, which is a growth stage, which lies about 4 to 6 days, and thereafter second stage, where there is a artificially created stress. It could be because of nutrient, it could be because of light, it could be otherwise created by addition of certain chemicals, for example, ferric ions, etc. So this is a theoretical process which has been put into implementation, and we have achieved very good successes onto this one. Now I'll give you a very specific example of a chlorococcus species, a very versatile algal culture which we obtained from fresh water, but then it has a huge capacity, and it has transformed itself into into ability to utilize different kind of carbon sources, and also grow on seawater and also on different kind of wastewater. So I'll run through very fast because I have only 10 minutes left out. So we started with waste crude, waste glycerol, and also we started utilizing the seawater. In a, since it's freshwater alga, we wanted to adapt it to seawater. And as you can see that under different modes of cultivation, phototrophic with carbon dioxide, heterotrophic with glucose, and heterotrophic with glycerol. The heterotrophic with glycerol yielded the best result. Of course, both the heterotrophic were quite good, and the most weak was, or the quite inferior was phototrophic growth. The same is seen here, how the cells behave. So this is what is right side. You see the very good growth with lipid content under heterotrophic growth and include glycerol. And this is what we have seen the previous in terms of quantity. The biomass under heterotrophic growth with the glycerol was 850 milligram per liter, and with glucose it was higher. But then if you look at lipid content, it was best when heterotrophic growth mode was adopted using glycerol as the carbon source. The same is predicted here as under this TLC, you can see. And if you look at different fatty acid profiles, what is very interesting that under with glucose, the C18 fatty acid composition was substantially high. That means we can modulate the culture growth in order to generate this C18 fatty acid, which could have application for nutraceutical purpose, not only for biodiesel. So what are some basic summary points are given here. Then we moved on to utilization of dairy effluent by the same culture species, applying mixotrophic growth and mixotrophic growth with, under different dairy effluent with 2, 4, and 6% concentration. And what is very interesting to see that still the culture grows very well, and up to 6%. I have not shown the result of 8%. Up to 6% it grows well, and the 6% gives you the best biomass as well as fatty acid composition. This is what is shown here. This you can see at 6% waste glycerol containing dairy wastewater, we get the best fatty acid composition. And in this one, the biomass concentration has substantially increased to 1.9 gram per liter. But what is very interesting, again, now the fatty acid profile has completely changed, and it appears quite suitable for biodiesel production. This change of pH, and then when you're looking at the basic aspect that how this there is a COD removal and BOD removal, as you can see, it is very efficient, and in 12 to 15 days time, practically entire more than 95% COD BOD removal has been attained. Then we also looked at using different kind of pre-treatment liquor, because we have put a pilot plant based on different kind of lignocellulosic biomass, and from there different acid pre-treated liquors are generated. So we continue to work on to this one, and we see, as you can see, that the culture has unique capacity to utilize not only C6 sugar but also C6. And one most unique feature has been that the culture has also been able to utilize otherwise considered this inhibitor compound furfural, hydroxymethyl furfural, and both the organic acid which are produced in the medium, acetic acid and formic acid. So as you can see that in 6 days time, entire spectrum was utilized in case of sorghum biomass, acid-treated liquor, and in case of rice straw, that while the 3 were completely exhausted in 4 days, for hydroxymethyl furfural, it took longer time. So that is how it has been there. We also looked about utilization at larger scale and the fatty acid profile of this one, and then some summary points are mentioned here. So from the entire one, what we can conclude that mixotrophic macroalgae cultivation it's 2.5 times better. It gives 2 to 5 times biomass yield depending on substrate and growth condition. Effect of light on mixotrophic growth is governed by the substrate type. Glucose was the best substrate for Bico type cultivation for biomass production, but glycerol did not exhibit biomass yield improvement as compared to autotrophic yield, but however showed effect on improved lipid yield. And mixotrophic cultivation exhibited better growth condition in terms of oxygen concentration and so on. So with this, I would complete my presentation with, again, thanks to all of you for your patience hearing. Thank you.